Speaking about Matthew Vaughn, and if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen my response to this interview that he did. So Matthew Vaughn is actually doing press for his upcoming film Argyle, but he's been making some very strange comments. So the headline reads, and this is from The Hollywood Reporter, Matthew Vaughn would want to remake original Star Wars movies with new cast. Let's bring it on. Why are the characters so hallowed from 1977 you can't redo it for a new audience, the filmmaker said. This is a sentiment I feel has been growing, especially among the more popular franchises today. We've seen it in the MCU of late and other, probably DCU as well, other like superhero genre film. DC and MCU are both kind of in shambles at the moment. And also Star Wars as well has not performed well among fans and its direction, because Star Wars is following the MCU formula. Obviously, these are both Marvel and Star Wars were bought by Disney and are following similar formulas, trying to copy the Avengers Thanos approach, but just doing it on Disney Plus. But this is the kind of sentiment that I feel it makes fans uneasy of even any new project. If you hear the word reboot, if you hear the word anything in addition to a beloved IP, has people just instantly cringe. I think people have just lost, and me included, have lost optimism in a lot of when it comes to certain IPs that we've loved. So Matthew Vaughn, who directed X-Men First Class, said that he would be interested in rebooting the original Star Wars films with a fresh set of actors playing Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Darth Vader. Okay, so this was in a recent episode of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. Vaughn says, quote, "For me, doing a Star Wars movie is to play with the characters that I loved. If they said to me, do you want to reboot Star Wars and actually have Luke Skywalker, Solo, and Vader and do your version of it? Everyone would say you're an idiot to try, but that would excite me. Why are the characters so hallowed that from 1977 that you can't redo it for a new audience?" This is the problem. This actually may seem, I guess, at face value, like there's nothing wrong with the statement, but I take issue with the fact that he views these characters as just toys to play with. Doing a Star Wars movie is to play with the characters that I loved. And while that's great in your own mind and in your own fan fiction and with your own action figures, this isn't your toy box. This is someone else's mythology. And you can't just step in and treat these characters as if they're mere toys for you. And this is what I feel like is happening a lot, and especially I think with the MCU and more recently Disney Star Wars. And I think it was most egregious, I think, with Ahsoka. And this is what they're building towards. You know, this is just building towards the next thing, which they're trying to do Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, as their Thanos. They're trying to do that, but failing so miserably in so many different ways. You can feel that that's their approach. That they just use characters. They don't really care about the story. They don't care about the character's development, their motivations, their background, where they're going, what kind of journey they want to have for them, how it connects to the lore and the mythology. They just want to see young Anakin, Clone Wars Anakin, with Clone Wars Ahsoka. They just want to stick that in there and see what that's like. They want to stick Rex in there too. Yeah, because we want to have that. We want to play with that. People like Thrawn. Let's play with him. Let's have him in this show.
See, I knew this would happen, which is I give Thrawn, but it's like as soon as you give them, it must be like if you have a child, you give them a toy and they're like, "Yay! What else have you got?" And it's like, no, play with Thrawn for a little bit.
It lasted for 30 seconds.
Yeah, you know.
It's funny because there was actual potential in the original characters that they had in Ahsoka. I think Baylan was a huge hit. I thought he was very intriguing, actually, and was so disappointed in how he was wasted. But they did best when they created an original character. Funnily enough, same thing with The Mandalorian. They created an original character, and that was great at first, because I could feel that was something they probably had more of an attachment to. They put more work into it because it is something that they created, that they weren't taking it out of a toy box because it hadn't been invented yet. They had to come up with it. And I feel like they put more care into those stories. Well, somewhat. They couldn't stick the landing, Balin, but there was potential there. If they just focused on Balin, if they'd gotten rid of Thrawn altogether and just focused on Balin and making him the central antagonist, would have been so much better. Fans are not, we don't want to see your fan fiction played out with your action figures. So that's not what storytelling is. Honestly, the way they so flippantly talk about these characters like they're just mere objects to toy with is insulting. It's insulting to the characters, it's insulting to George Lucas, it's insulting to the creators of these original IPs, and insulting to fans and general audiences at the end of the day too. Because we want to have intelligent, thoughtful, exciting, immersive stories. And I did have another quote that kind of like hammer home the point of Matthew Vaughn's comments are par for the course when it comes to those who want to take on a beloved IP. They don't feel like stewards. They feel like it's theirs because they're signed on to it. It's not yours. Do your own thing, and that becomes yours. And you are responsible for what happens. If it bombs, well, then it's your failure. If it's great, well, then you get to own that too. But when you take on someone else's sandbox, someone else's carefully crafted mythology over decades, you have a responsibility to respect that. It's not like it's closed to you to expand on that. You can expand on it in a very meaningful way. The Star Wars universe, other universes, Battlestar Galactica, there's so much room to explore and tell original stories. But that doesn't mean you have to tear down and ruin well-established lore to do so, well-established characters to do so. And honestly, I feel like it's best for everybody that you don't do that. You want to have creative freedom, well then do your own thing or tell an original story that doesn't conflict with something.